Welcome back to SportsLine. We continue our conversation with Coach Dave McGinnis, longtime NFL assistant, former assistant with the Titans, former NFL head coach with the Arizona Cardinals, now the radio analyst for Titans football games, along with Mike Keith. Great to have you here.
No, it's great to be here. I mean, this is fun. You know, I'm just sad it's taking this long for me to get in here.
I apologize for that. That's charge it to my head, not my heart, Coach.
No, John, here's what I kept doing. I kept upping the ante to pay you to get here, and it finally reached your tipping point.
We're not supposed to talk about that.
I got you.
Listen, we got a special guest on the line.
Nice.
He's one of my favorite
Good.
people.
Good.
He's one of my loyal callers, loyal watchers. He's an 11-year-old football player. Our buddy Christian Torres, we had him here in studio back in the wintertime, and he wants to talk to Coach Mack. Christian, what's up, buddy?
Christian, what's up, man?
Hey, Mr. Burton. Hey, Coach Mack.
Hey, Christian.
It's a pleasure to be speaking to you, Coach.
No, it's great to have you. Thanks for calling, man.
He's a huge Titans fan, and he's a football player himself.
Christian,
Loves the Titans.
Christian, wait. John tells me that you've been here in studio with him doing this show. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is. I was here in studio a couple months ago, and it was a spectacular time. Thank you, Mr. Burton, for having me on, by the way. That was
first of all, it's John or JB. It's not Mr. Burton, okay? But
okay.
It was a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. I haven't heard from you in a while. How's your summer?
It was great. You know, I did some really fun things. Was hanging out with my dog named Titan. Love the Titans so much.
Nice.
Like that.
So you getting ready for football season, or has your season started, right?
We actually played our last game yesterday.
Oh, you guys are done already?
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you guys finish?
You know, we had fun. We did lose all of our games.
That's unfortunate.
Winning isn't the only thing that's important. It's about having fun, and I had a blast this year.
Christian,
so
you know what?
great.
That's so good, brother, to hear you say that.
I told you he was the best.
I love him. I love that fact that you enjoyed it, and I tell you what, do it because you love it. I like that a lot.
Do you have a question for Coach Mack,
sir.
Christian? Do you have a question for Coach?
I do.
Go right ahead.
So, what I think, or in my opinion, I think that if we put some serious pressure on Bortles, and if we keep him out of his comfort zone, and if we, you know, make him scramble around, and if we, you know, keep that thing going this game, I think we're going to have a great chance of success and winning. What's your thought on that, Coach?
Christian, first of all, I love it. It sounds like you've been in the defensive. It sounds like you've been in the defensive meeting rooms. I mean, I like that. And you know what? I think you're spot on, and it's going to be so important to do that. And here's why it's important to do that. Okay, we've got to get Jacksonville behind the chains. And when I say behind the chains, we've got to put them in situations that I like to refer to as conflict downs. Okay, and make them one-dimensional. That's what we have to do with them. And the best way to do that is to disrupt the offense first and second down,
right,
so you can get them in predictable situations on third down and take them out of the situation as to where now they've got you know what they're going to do. That way you can make them one-dimensional, and then you can attack them whichever way that Dean Pease and the defense want to. I love your thought process, Christian. Hopefully we can get that done, and we need to get it done from the start of this game.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure meeting you, and I totally agree with what you said. I think that's going to be a true key to this game. And as a matter of fact, I did play outside linebacker this season.
Christian,
so.
I like it. I like it, man. Here, look. I know I'm sitting in the seat that you sat in. I hope I do half as good a job as you did when you were here.
He's incredible, isn't he?
No, they say that you were awesome. And one of these days, what we've got to get John to do is let you and I both be here on set at the same time.
We're going to make that happen. Christian, great hearing from you, man, and give my best to your family, all right?
All right, thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
No,
Thanks,
it's
Christian.
our pleasure. Always a pleasure. Take care, buddy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this guy,
solid.
he loves sports. He loves the Titans. He loves football. And, I mean, he just blew everybody away when we had him in studio. It was such a fun night. Everybody in the newsroom was buzzing. But getting back to this game, Christian brought up some great points. Look, Bortles is the real deal. I know a lot of people, were doubting him. I mean, we know that the Jags roster is talented, but you look what he did last week against New England, put up some really good numbers, played extremely well in that AFC playoff win over the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I thought he played extremely well. You look at the Jags, man, they're making a strong bid. Everybody talks about Pittsburgh, New England. But right now, I think the Jags are the best team in the AFC. The Titans are going to have their hands full on Sunday.
Oh, no, absolutely. And look, let's talk about Bortles a little bit.
Yeah.
When, in vetting Bortles, I've been to, every combine they've had since they started it up there in Indy. And here's the deal. This guy's an athlete, and you can't fall asleep on him. Now, he's been through some up and downs in his career, but most quarterbacks in this league go through that. But he's an athlete, he's a competitor, and when you watch, and I've watched that New England game 3 times now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they wore New England out.
Yes.
And he was spot on with what he was doing. Look, they have finally surrounded him. And a lot of times your quarterback is a product of who he's surrounded by.
Sure.
They have surrounded him. Now, that defense is really good, and we'll talk about them, I'm sure, during this, another segment. But the people that he's got surrounding him, and plus the environment that he's in right now, you can't sleep on this guy. This guy's a legitimate NFL quarterback. And here's the other thing. If you noticed in that New England game that they just played, he was throwing till the end. This group trusts him now.
Yep.
He's not just managing the game.
Right.
He's directing the game, and that's big.
Yeah, they had the lead, and I remember they had him throw on 3rd down. A lot of coaches would have had just have him hand off and then punt the ball. But they threw and got a 1st down where it was able to run out the clock because I think they felt, listen, with Brady over there, you never know. No lead is safe. Let's put this game away. Let's put it in Blake Bortles' hands, and he delivered.
There's been a time in his career as to where they've just had him kind of be a position and a placeholder.
Sure.
Now they're letting him be a quarterback.
Right.
And you can see he's taking the reins and run with it because once a quarterback knows that the organization and his team have confidence in him, that even makes him project himself more. He did a great job in that game. You're right.
Let's talk about that defense. To me, Coach, I think this Jags defense reminds me of the Seahawks defense from just a few years ago. I mean, they are mean, they are nasty, they are confident, they're a little dirty. I mean, Calais Campbell's a load on that defensive line, and everybody knows about Jalen Ramsey, a Nashville kid, not afraid to shoot his mouth off, and more often than not, he backs it up. You got Miles Jack, you've got Fowler Jr. You've got so many talented guys on that defense, and it's finally all coming together. They're a handful, that D.
You know what, that defense, and of course, of course, their defensive coordinator came from the Seattle system. He was a defensive line coach in Seattle, came up through the ranks. That is the Seattle system, but here's what they've done. They have constructed that defense. Most of the times you can look at a defense and say, okay, look, the front might be good, but we can attack the second level because those linebackers aren't quite up to our, where they've got one corner, but we can work on this other one, or you know what, the corners are okay, but we can work the middle with those safeties. You go to the front. Just the people that you've named. They had 57 sacks last year, 2 shy of their team record in 59. Calais Campbell has come in there and galvanized that defensive front.
Right.
He really has. The linebackers are young and can run. They can run, and then you got 2 corners in Bowie and Ramsey out there. They're as good a lockdown corners as there are in the league, and the safeties are perfect for this system that they have. There are no weak spots in that defense.
Right.
And so now you've got to be completely technique sound, and you've got to be gap sound on offense, and you've got to be assignment sound, and then you have to be plan sound. You have to be able to plan things open against these people because they are athletic enough at every position. A lot of playing defense is being athletic enough and playing fast to be able to cover up mistakes, because a slow, correct decision on defense in the National Football League is still wrong.
Right.
You've got to be able to play fast. These people can run, and they're playing really, really good defense, and they played it great last year, and they started this year off too.
It's funny you mentioned, just play fast no matter what you're doing. I mean, I grew up in New York. I watched Lawrence Taylor his entire career, and he would say, a lot of times, Parcells or Belichick or somebody would call a play, I wouldn't know what I was doing, so I would just go after the quarterback as hard as I could. He just said, hey, when in doubt, just go rush the quarterback.
Yeah, and
I think the point you're trying to make is you make that decision and then you just go.
And you have to, and especially playing defense, because it's a reactive thing in the National Football League. But by study and knowing really deep study and trusting techniques on defense, I've coached some really great defenses and some great defensive players in this league, and there's ways to get ahead of the play on offense. But the main thing that you have to do, even if there is a chance that you're going to get blocked, if everybody else is playing fast, you can cover up so many mistakes by playing with speed. But you can't play with speed unless you have confidence in the system, and unless you have confidence in the techniques, and confidence that if I go get it, and if something happens to me, that you're going to be right behind me, John, cleaning it up. That's what they've got going for them in Seattle.
No question. And back to the offense for just a second. We talked about Bortles. Jaguars could be getting Leonard Fournette back. Everybody's familiar with him because he went to LSU,
right,
and everybody's SEC football fans here. That kid's a load, man. Yeah, I mean, but he's got breakaway speed, but at 230 pounds, I mean, you got to bring your hat when you're going up against this guy.
I think Leonard Fournette's looked like that since high school.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
he looked like a man in high school playing against kids, right?
Because he was, it's because he was, and LSU was the same thing.
Yeah.
This is a special athlete, and this is a special player, and he adds a special dimension, to their offense, because now you've not only got a back that you can pound with and you can run that inside and outside zone and the power scheme with, but you've got a back that if you make any mistakes, he can take it the distance. Yep. He's a special player, and he's another good piece to what they've put together down there. They've put together a really good football team there in Jacksonville.
Coach Dave McGinnis is here. When we come back, we're going to take a look around the NFL, talk about some of the big issues going on after 2 weeks, who looks good, who looks bad, and we'll get more of a preview of Sunday's Titans-Jaguars game. Huge game in the AFC South coming up on Sunday. Don't forget, you can watch it over on News Channel 5 Sunday just after high noon. We're back after this. Your phone calls as well. Stay with us.